Euromaxx highlights. And here's your host, Louise Houghton.
Hello and thanks for joining us on Euromaxx today. Let's get the show on the road with a look at 3 of our stories coming up. Going green, how Milan gears up for Expo 2015. Punk Power, meet Finland's contestants for Eurovision. And Poster Show, a Frankfurt museum spotlights a 1950s art movement. Milan has always been seen as a mini concrete jungle. That was until now. Under the motto, Feed the Planet, a major transformation has been taking place as the Italian city prepares to host Expo 2015. Sustainability is the key word here now, and new parks, pedestrian zones and bike paths are cropping up, making Milan a greener place to be.
New greenery for an old industrial city. Milan has been changing in the run-up to Expo 2015. Lots of new gardens, parks, and public spaces have been created. They were designed by the German landscape artist. He calls his plan for the city Raggio Verdi, green rays.
Anyone who remembers Milan as a grey metropolis should come visit. Here is a 1-kilometre leafy boulevard. Lots of little gardens create an ensemble right in the centre of the city. This is an ambitious plan that goes way beyond the Expo and should help to make Milan a green city.
The cathedral is at the very centre of the city. From the roof, you can see a cluster of new high-rises to the north. The Unicredit Tower and the award-winning Bosco Verticali, or vertical forest apartment buildings. New paths lead from the Porta Nuova at the edge of the old city to Piazza Gai Aulenti at the foot of the skyscrapers. Here too, Andreas Kipar was involved in the planning.
This is becoming Milan's new main square, where old and new come together. It's not only about tradition, but innovation as well. You see that perfectly at Piazza Gai Aulenti.
There were plans for a leafy park here too, but there was not enough time to make it happen. Planning errors and corruption have slowed down various projects, especially on the Expo site itself at the western edge of the city. Pavilion Zero provides an introduction to the Expo. It was designed by the Milanese architect Michele De Lucchi. Its shape was inspired by a hilly landscape. Inside, visitors will walk through caves in almost total darkness and explore the central theme of the Expo, Feeding the Planet, Energy for Life, the transformation of the natural landscape and the culture and rituals of food.
Each room is like a theater with its own sets. When you enter, you'll attain a deep insight into the story. I hope it will address the emotions, move people, and help create greater awareness.
55 countries will have their own pavilions along Expo's main street, Decumanus, which is 1.5 kilometers long. Some are almost complete, including those of Thailand, Malaysia, and Azerbaijan. Expo is a showcase of new architecture. This is the German pavilion. The wooden cladding is designed to be recycled. The architecture evokes Germany's distinctive landscape of fields and meadows out of which bright ideas emerge.
Idea seedlings, trees will grow out of this landscape. That part over there is wrapped in a transparent mesh and has organic photovoltaic arrays on the roof. It's brand new, the first of its kind in the world.
Inside, the exhibition will focus on innovative projects on themes such as clean water, climate, and biodiversity. There is just a month to go before Expo opens. The city will be looking its very best. Tickets are on sale at Expo Gate, the information center in front of the Sports Castle downtown.
Perhaps it will help Italy overcome its crisis. Long live Expo!
I'm going to go often, seeing as how it's right here in Milan.
It's a great opportunity for Italy, but the work should be completed by now.
The park Andreas Kipar designed is finished. Parco Portello was built on the site of an old Alfa Romeo factory. It is part of his Green Rays concept, linking the center to the periphery.
From the densely built Old Town, past the fairgrounds, lots of little green stepping stones lead all the way to Portello Park and on past Monte Stella, which is really a huge mound of rubble, to the Expo. And now you can get there on foot and by bike.
A lot has been achieved in Milan: more green spaces, a better quality of life, and at the Expo site, they're working flat out to get everything ready in time for the grand opening in May.
Well, back to Berlin now, where the Redhot photo exhibition has recently opened. It features 100 shots of red-headed men, just like you can see here in this book. The project was created by London-based photographer Thomas Knights, who set out to defy the stereotypical belief that men with ginger hair cannot be sexy. I think after looking through this book, you'll see that they can.
These men look good and have red hair. As kids, they were made fun of, but now they look like self-confident, handsome pin-up idols.
When you look at these pictures, you're kind of looking up at them as almost this heroic, masculine figure. If ginger hair was a brand, it's trying to create the ultimate dream of being a ginger man.
Fashion photographer Thomas Knights from London is a man on a mission. He wants to improve the image of the ginger man. His exhibition, Red Hot, opens this weekend in Berlin. He makes the final touches ahead of the big day. As a redhead, he knows how people with his hair color suffer, especially children.
In popular culture in general, but especially in the UK, there is this very anti-ginger sentiment, a real kind of anti-redhead notion. And when you grow up as a redhead, you totally sense it, you feel it, you know, you live it. And when you're constantly told that it's a bad thing, it's a negative thing, it's unattractive, you totally take that on board.
But these bare-chested models paint a very different picture. This is the trailer Thomas Knights uses to advertise his project. He started looking for models in 2010, but supposedly no agency in Britain had red-headed models. So he had to go and look on his own. In the hip London district of Soho, he discovered Ken Beck. The Dane was working in a juice bar. As a child, other kids used to make fun of him and call him Strawberry Helmet. He never dreamed of becoming a model.
Thomas came through the door, and it was super busy. He jumped the queue and come up to where I was standing juicing and pulls out this calendar with the ginger people half naked, and he starts asking me, do you want to be a part of this? And obviously I go like, no. But he left his business card, and one of my colleagues that kind of pushed me, why not? What do you got to lose?
Ken Beck is now the cover boy of the Red Hot campaign. His face is on calendars and posters. He gave up the job in the juice bar to become a full-time model. He does fashion shootings with Thomas Knights, and now he has contracts with agencies in London, New York, and Paris. But Beck and Knights and all other redheads are in a minority. They're estimated to be 140 million redheads worldwide. That's about 2% of the planet. In Britain, the percentage is higher, and there are many famous people with ginger looks. Prince Harry, for instance. Or the musician Ed Sheeran. But despite this, Thomas Knights says red-haired men often get a raw deal in films and on TV.
In Hollywood, there's many red-headed females like Julianne Moore and Nicole Kidman who are sex symbols and seen as aspirational to other women. They're sort of the ultimate woman. They're seen as sexual. They're seen as as something to aspire towards, and you just still don't get that for the ginger man. So say you take Harry Potter, you know, you've got the wonderful character of Ron Weasley and his whole family, but they aren't the powerful family. They aren't the heroes. Even Damian Lewis in Homeland, he ended up being the anti-hero. He was in fact the negative character in the end.
That's why Knights would like to take his exhibition to Hollywood. He wants to create debate in Tinseltown. So far, his pictures have been in London, New York, and Sydney. In Berlin, people were already checking out the exhibition even while it was still being set up.
I'd chat them up. They're not what you'd expect. Beautiful people. Not all my type, but most are.
They look good, especially these ones. Sorry, no offense.
Another project is the anti-bullying calendar. Knights is looking for models in Berlin. The profits go to institutions that work against marginalization at British schools. Knights says he receives thank you mails every day from people who've been affected or from their family members.
I think it has actually made an impact. I don't know whether we are at a point where children are not getting bullied at school for being ginger. I don't think that's quite happening yet. But I'm hoping that that eventually might come, with my ultimate goal, which would be something like a ginger James Bond, a major kind of Hollywood character that is, you know, a heartthrob leading man being ginger.
It's a dream that one day could be reality. Thomas Knights has already found 100 possible candidates.
Now, the spring weather here in Europe has sent some ladies into a little frenzy. What is on trend this season and what can we wear? Well, my German colleague on Euromaxx, Maike Kruger, set out to find the perfect spring outfit, and her mission turned out to be harder than she thought.
I'm on a mission looking for the perfect spring outfit, but the challenge is that I'm on my own, so I'm looking for inspiration in fashion magazines. It's often said that anything goes in fashion, but unfortunately, that's no help to me at all right now.
This spring, the designers didn't reinvent fashion, of course not, but I saw a few things I quite like. I know now what I'm looking for, but I don't know if I will find them.
I'm drawn to a big store because of the huge selection, but I feel overwhelmed browsing the range on offer. Then I note that floral patterns are not for me. Of course, I end up finding a lot of things. Every woman knows the ordeal I'm about to go through with trying everything on, and I mean everything. In the end, I feel exhausted, but the struggle is worth it. The colorful pants and the black jacket look great, and I feel a sense of relief.
If you go shopping alone, it's easy to get lost, and I think it's really exhausting. I think the better way is to go out with someone else.
This method is a lot more relaxing. I've uploaded my photos and files onto an online style counseling service. Yankee, the friendly employee, promises to take care of everything for me. All I have to do is answer a few questions.
Do you need a new outfit for a job or something more casual?
For the show.
Something a little more stylish, right?
Size 36. If I've answered everything honestly and haven't lied about the size, all the pieces Yankee has selected for me should fit. The parcel arrives at my house a good week later. Now it comes down to one question. Do the clothes really fit? And do I like them? There are a few possible combinations. I choose the bell-bottoms currently in fashion, the t-shirt in the trend color blue, and the shoes with the wedge heel.
Getting a package that's like Christmas, and I found lots of things which are quite easy to combine, and I definitely found something for the show.
The third way to find my spring outfit is with a personal shopper, Stephen Mills. What do you think of the 70s trend?
As I've lived them, I'm not a huge fan.
So nothing from the 70s. Obviously he knows the trends, but he doesn't follow them all the time. He's been working in the fashion industry since the 80s. I always have the feeling everything's coming back.
Everything comes back, but always with a twist.
I really like this one.
You can have a look around, but I've already picked something for you.
Okay, surprise me.
Oh,
very nice cut. But the color is something new. I don't think I've ever worn something like that. Okay, what do we pair it with?
It's going to be tone on tone, and it's going to make a huge impression.
Okay, I don't really know what to expect yet, but... Now just the shoes are missing for the complete outfit.
Like this?
Trends aside, I don't think I can put up with those heels. Those are much more my taste.
They also go perfectly with this color.
Are we taking these, or should we try those? These are those. You would take these? I would take those.
Okay, let's try them.
The same tone combination isn't boring. It wins me over instantly. For the personal shopper, this was, of course, clear from the beginning.
Steve knew exactly what was right for me. No constant changing. The color was not of my choice. But in the end, I was surprised, positively.
So, 3 outfits and 3 different ways to find them. Now all I have to decide is which one to wear.
Well, one of the biggest European events in spring is the Eurovision Song Contest. Over the last few years, we've seen some memorable acts grace the stage, and this year, Finland's entry are hoping to join that list. A punk band whose members are all mentally challenged have been chosen to compete. But will they have the winning performance? We'll find out next month.
This year's Eurovision Song Contest in May will see something of a first. Pertti Kurikan Nimipäivät, or PKN for short, is a punk band. The band was formed in 2009 at a workshop for people with learning disabilities, and they haven't looked back since. Manning the drums is Toni Valitalo, accompanied in the rhythm section by bassist Sami Helle. The band's name means Pertti Kurikan's name day, after their guitarist and founder, and the day he wrote their first punk song. The lyrics are penned by singer Kari Aalto. He writes about personal freedom, life in assisted living accommodations, and also about broader political issues.
The people in our parliament are always busy talking. In the meantime, the country is being crippled by austerity.
If people identify with our songs, that's fine with us.
PKN enjoy cult status in the Finnish punk scene, thanks not least to their live performances. The band's discography already comprises 10 EPs, plus a greatest hits compilation album, currently in 22nd spot in the domestic charts. The band gained international exposure through The Punk Syndrome, a documentary film made about them in 2012. Some band members have Down syndrome and Williams syndrome. The musicians live in supported accommodation apartments, with carers on hand to help with certain tasks. They're out to shake up Eurovision and trigger a debate on the issues of disability and discrimination. But for now, Pertti Kurikan is studying a guidebook ahead of their trip to Austria in May.
We're going to Vienna. Mozart used to play symphonies there.
We need to talk about the conditions that people with disabilities face. What I'd like to see is an open debate when we go there. Plus, it would be great to have more punks performing at Eurovision after us.
The band's qualification for Eurovision also makes a statement about Finnish society and its inclusion of citizens with disabilities. Their faces are well known on the streets of Helsinki. And And no matter how they fare in Vienna on May the 19th, PKN are sure to win over a bunch of new fans before embarking on their tour this summer.
Back in the 1950s, a couple of French artists began a movement where they would tear off street posters and post them together in a collage. At the time, they were seen as provocative rebels, but today they're hailed as pioneers of early street art. Euromaxx met up with one of the movement's founders.
Jacques Viglet strolls through the streets of Paris. He admires the graffiti on the walls of his neighborhood. Contemporary street artists work in public spaces, as he did 4 or 5 decades ago, but in a very different way. He worked with ordinary advertising posters.
Laceration is an act of liberation, because the commercial smile wants to direct you towards a product. Politicians want to instruct you. So laceration is a somewhat anarchist gesture.
As a young man, Viglet would rip ads from the walls, often tearing through several layers, and then frame the results, although people didn't really understand what he was doing. He was questioned by the police, but never charged. Today, works by Jacques Viglet and his friends Raymond and François Dufresne hang in major art museums around the world. They're the subject of a show at the Schieren Gallery in Frankfurt, documents of a city's collective consciousness.
With all these torn posters, Jacques Viglet recorded the place and the date. You could say he had a topography of the city in mind, which is reflected in these posters.
Another artist who practiced décollage, using fragments of posters ripped off walls, was Mimmo Rotella in Rome, who composed works with strips of posters in a critical reworking of consumerist motifs. German artist Wolf Vostel worked with overtly political motifs. Viglet took a purely aesthetic approach.
I am an observer. I'm interested in what happens. I can take a poster that is leftist or rightist, without myself tending to the left or to the right. I wanted to be the painter of my epoch. And the best way of becoming that was to take the decor of the street.
In 1949, Viglet and Raymond created the first major affichiste picture, a 2.5 meters long frieze. For them, art was made by all, not by one. At his studio in Paris, Viglet has lots of old material he'd still like to frame. He practiced affichisme longer than anyone else, for decades, in fact.
In the 1990s, he had to go to cities such as Marseille, where such posters could still be found. In other cities, they were gone. And nowadays, with billboards and digital media, poster culture has been transformed. So what the heirs of affichiste art do is entirely different.
The art of Jacques Viglet also developed. In the late 1960s, he created what he called a socio-political alphabet. Each letter becomes a symbol. He has written entire texts using this system. These works are now also museum pieces. Still, he does not really see himself as a precursor of present-day graffiti art.
My domain was the street. Then came street art. That's a social fact. And I work with them because the street is our domain. I did the opposite back then. I took from the street and took it into the studio, while they work in the street.
Viglet no longer rips posters off walls.
I don't do it anymore because it takes a lot of physical effort. And I'm getting to be too old for that kind of sport.
Nor does he have to. His work is a successful reflection of 4 decades of city life.
And that brings us nicely to the end of the show for today. So from myself and the rest of the Euromaxx crew here, thank you very much for watching. And until next time, take care of yourselves. Bye-bye for now.